Good afternoon and welcome to the latest edition of Shooting Straight with me, Voice of the Forge. For those of you who do not know why I have this handle, I started a while ago, 2 years ago, a small gaming group for people that have social and anxiety disorders, depression, that kind of thing. And basically, we're a social group which uses games and gaming media to socialise and overcome some of the negative effects of mental ill health. There wasn't really much in the way of provision for gaming clubs for people that can't tolerate large, noisy groups of people. And most of the places which have that kind of remit, for instance, they didn't cater to people that had a more individualistic need. So that's how we started up. So that's why I have Voice of the Forge, because the group is called Forgotten Forge Games. And as you may be able to tell, I am the most outspoken member of the group, and I can talk the hind leg off a donkey. In seeking to address certain problems that have arisen over my time running Forgotten Forge Games, there have been a number of things that have happened, such as the start of Gamergate. We've just recently had Sad Puppies. But on today's Shooting Straight, I want to go back slightly further. Now, I understand not everyone who listens to this will necessarily be English, and you may not know the complete ins and outs of the narrative that I'm going to talk about, so I'm going to fill in as much information as I can with regards to an incident that happened when a girl went missing by the name of Millie Dowler. Unfortunately, she was found dead, and people have been arrested in connection with her murder. But there was a massive problem after a newspaper in the UK called The Guardian posted an attack, for want of a better word, on another newspaper called The News of the World for allegedly hacking her phone. Now, I assume that people will have heard of phone hacking, because it was a big news story in the US as well as in the UK, where journalists were able to listen to the voice messages of celebrities with a passcode which a lot of people hadn't changed from the original setting. So if you knew what the original setting was for a specific SIM or for a specific phone, you phoned the number, you put in the PIN code, and you got access to their voicemails. And that's how some people were able to report certain news stories with extra content that wasn't available freely in the public domain, because they'd managed effectively to hack I'm using air quotes for the hack, because it's not really a hack if you know the password, or you're able to guess it or figure it out through deduction, but it is still something that you weren't supposed to have access to. It was a big enough story that they covered something similar in Jeff Daniels' The Newsroom, with regards to one of the storylines they had there. But in this particular instance, Millie Dowler was a murder victim, and The Guardian alleged that the News of the World had hacked her phone and deleted a message from her voicemail inbox, which gave the parents hope that she was still alive, and it caused a massive scandal, and the News of the World basically had to shut down and cease to exist. Several months later, it then came out that the deletion process may have been automatic. After a number of days, then the message itself may have been deleted as a routine measure by the telephony company involved. So we had this major story reported by a major newspaper, which had another title basically cast into the furnace, and we now realise that it could have been something of a non-story. Why am I bringing this up now? Well, I'm bringing it up now given the fact that over the last week and a bit we have seen some major outrages in terms of story. Sad Puppies, Gamergate being allegedly stuffing ballot boxes for the science fiction and fantasy awards, the Hugos. All these things are reminiscent of what happened with this News of the World story, in the fact that we have a series of narratives being projected by people with an agenda, and they are making life difficult for not only professionals but also people like you and I. In my last video, I talked about rape crisis and how there was a seeming agenda which has only served to undermine real victims coming forward. Because when we talk about rape statistics and the percentage of women who lie about rape, a measurable harm has been done given the high-profile nature of these cases, such as the Duke Lacrosse, the UVA rape crises, because they have been shown to be, at best, uncredible, untenable narratives, untenable witnesses, which further means that it now becomes an extra hurdle for a woman to go over in order to be taken seriously, because there's going to be even more scepticism now than there was in the past. And to be fair, the level of scepticism and the level of proof a woman needs in order to bring a complaint of rape is quite high to begin with. So anything that raises the bar and makes it more difficult for women to come forward is not a good thing. And I hope that everyone realises that I'm coming from this from a position that rape is an absolutely abhorrent crime, and anything that makes it difficult for justice to be done, to my mind, is one of the worst things that could happen. And it says so much that even someone who's talking the way that I am has to preface my comments in such a way so as not to cause outrage from those who are perpetually offended. And it's this pattern of lies and obfuscation which serve to weaken the positive stories and the positive effects, because this offence culture seeks to shout down and question shout down and shut out all questioning without a debate taking place. Just recently there were a number of YouTube clips which I was forwarded by people that I know, one of which was a debate question framed on a BBC Three program called Free Speech, and on it you had someone who was quite widely regarded as an obnoxious figure because he allegedly heads a racist, thuggish hate group called the English Defence League, the EDL, and he was trying to put his points across to this audience, and as you can see by the language that I've already used, I've used quite negative language about them because that's how they're perceived to be. It doesn't matter what they are in fact, it's their perception that they are this hateful group which are thuggish and cause violence. Now, this guy came on and he was very articulate and he managed to get his points across, and you had this woman on the panel and all she did was scream racist, racist, racist. That was all she did for the entire length of the time he tried to speak. Whenever he tried to ask a question, everything that came back was you're a racist, you're a racist, you're a racist. There was not an ounce of evidence that she was able to provide, despite him asking repeatedly for this, that she was able to turn around and say you are racist because of X or because of Y. All it was that all she needed to do was keep shouting the word long enough and loud enough in order to basically render him and render his speech ineffective, and shut down debate. And this then ties into the chilling effect that these people have. You post a tweet on Twitter and somebody takes immediate offence. Before you know it, you will have hundreds of notifications in your inbox, your notifications box, where you are getting people constantly tagging you into a debate which was nothing to do with what you originally tweeted. Fortunately, it hasn't happened to me yet, but I have seen it happen to other people, and it is very despondent, very difficult to keep on saying these kinds of things when there is a majority that won't listen to the argument that you are making, that picks and chooses and cherry picks sound bites and things that they think will get them noticed, and then they completely change the context and completely change the way in which you were trying to frame an argument. And it's this outrage culture which managed to dominate comics, and it managed to dominate recent scientific events such as the Shirtgate storm, which really, really was pathetic, because one woman didn't like the fact that he was wearing a shirt with cartoon sexy women on it without knowing anything behind the history of the shirt, the person who made it, and the reason why he was wearing it for that interview. It was immediately all about her rather than about the achievement for humankind that had been made. And this, I think, is the nub of the problem, is the fact that we have these people who are perpetual children. They have never grown out of the whole world revolves around me because I'm such a special snowflake culture. And that may very well offend people. But without the freedom to offend, without the freedom of expression to cause offence, then we do not have freedom of expression at all. There is nothing in any literature, in any kind of system for guaranteeing the freedom of a press, the freedom of an individual's rights to free speech. There is nothing which prohibits giving offence. There are limits to the offence that you can cause, because that's when you then start treading into the racial stereotypes and anti-Semitism and and racial slurs and things like that. But just to turn around and say that a person has a right not to be offended is pure bunk. It is absolute rubbish. And you can tell the people that have caused immense amounts of outrage in the world today and in the past, because all you have to do is look at Salman Rushdie when he wrote the satanic verses, when you look at the Danish cartoons, when you look at Charlie Hebdo. This is the bigger and endemic problem which the social justice warriors and the literally whos seek to propagate and perpetuate through all kinds of social media. Now, one of the things that was mentioned on Twitter was the fact that Gamergate had no place in any kind of fandom in sci-fi or anything else, and that basically we were told to get out. Now, this to me is very high school cliquish. It's, you're not one of the cool kids, therefore you can't play with us. And yet, they're the ones that have asked to join in our game. They're the ones that haven't bought the ball, but they're using our ball, and then trying to shame us into leaving so they get to carry on playing without us. It's like like high school girls. You're not the right kind of girl for this clique, where you have some women telling other women that they aren't invited to be a gamer. And this is absolutely the opposite of what gaming culture is. You play a game, we can talk about a shared experience, fantastic, we've made a new friend, we've got somebody else to talk about our passion to. And that is all we're really looking for. We're looking for people to join in. We're looking for people to have fun with us. We have a good time and we want to be able to expand that good time so that more people can have fun. More people can be involved. We don't care about gender. We don't care about race. We don't care about your ability to speak in public. We don't care about how you dress, provided that you're not offensive to all five senses, providing that you are happy to rub along with everybody else, and then go for it. We're more than welcome to have you on board. The more the merrier. The more people we have to play games with, the more games that we can play. It's as simple as that. And yet we have this very chilling effect on all sectors of society at the minute, with people like the Hackedoff campaign, where we have the anti-Gamergate crowd. We have this thing in culture where we always seek to blame somebody else. And it's very poisonous and it's very damaging to fandoms and to culture. And the media is afraid to cover it, because these talking heads that manufacture these outrages control the narrative. And when you look at the narratives that they control, at the moment in the UK, we are going through a massive thing. We've just had the huge bombshell over the last several months of Jimmy Savile being a huge predatory paedophile, and him being protected because of his celebrity status. No one was willing to stand up and be counted. Hot on the heels of this, we now have Cyril Smith, who was an MP in Westminster in the 70s and 80s, and because of his position, there has been a massive cover-up. There has been files deleted, people silenced, because they didn't toe the line. And now we have a massive issue with teenagers and young people being radicalised and leaving the country to fight on the behalf of ISIS. It is only a couple of weeks ago when we had an outraged father demanding why the police hadn't been able to stop his daughter from leaving the country, going to Turkey and joining ISIS, or ISIL, or Islamic State, or whatever name you want to give these radicalist terrorists that serve to create their own caliphate. And he was jumping up and down and having a proper tantrum because, as far as he was concerned, the police hadn't done enough to prevent his daughter from going abroad and joining these people. And yet, this week we learn that when this girl was 13, he was taking her to rallies where these very same hate preachers were spouting their poisonous rhetoric. This week we learned that he took her to a rally where one of these clerics that is known for radicalisation of young people, of youth, of disaffected youth in the UK, was holding a rally when she was 13. Now, which do you think is the more likely scenario for her wanting to go and join Islamic State? The fact that the police sent a letter to the parents asking permission to talk to them with regards to another girl that had gone missing, or the fact that she had actually been to these hateful rallies where she could see and hear the rhetoric that was being used by a religious leader to wage war on the West and to create this caliphate state. I don't think it takes a huge hill of beans to figure out that that is the more likely scenario for a young person being radicalised and wanting to go off and fight in a war in a foreign country. And it's this lack of fact-checking and it's this lack of sources that led to Gamergate in the first place. We had a whole narrative spun out of cloth that didn't exist previously to these people that got together and colluded as a group, as a cartel, in concert with one another, to frame a narrative about what was going on in games, to demonise people that just wanted to sit back, kick back, relax, and forget about the real world for whatever reason. And when the people found out this was what was being said about them, we had the Gamergate hashtag born, because people did not recognise themselves and did not want such a hateful narrative to prevail. And we're still going strong. We're still showing that we have the potential to have a hashtag trend because of the dispersal of people that we have to manage to show how diverse and how widespread Gamergate actually is. And people have tried then saying, linking us to the Sad Puppies campaign, whereas I think the only link that you can make is the fact that people have seen that it is possible to stand up to bullies. And that is what we're talking about here. We are standing up to bullies. We are saying this far and no farther. And on that note, I'm going to call this session of Shooting Straight to a close, because we have gone over the 20-minute mark, and I thank you for listening. I have been, as always, Voice of the Forge. You can find me at Voice of the Forge on Twitter, or send me a comment on this YouTube channel. Thank you once more for listening, and good afternoon.